Party, we have Miss Lisa Raitt. In Ontario, for the New Democrats, we have with us Tracey Ramsey, joins us from Ontario. And for the Liberals, we also have Gary Anandasangri, who's joining us from Ontario. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on CTV News Channel. Really appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
So a lot of promises have been made, we know, in the last 10 days. Mudslinging, as we've seen, videos, photographs. But how much of all of this is actually playing on the voters' mind is the question. For that, we have the Nanos poll numbers that give us the latest idea. And these days from September 18th to the 20th. So a quick look now, as you all can hear as well. Conservatives in the lead with 36.8% right now. Liberals with 32%, NDP at 13.7%, the Green at 9%, and the rest, of course, are there on the page as well for everybody to see. So let's start with you, Ms. Raitt, today. Your thoughts on the numbers? I'm sure there's a reason for the Conservatives to smile. You're in the lead.
Well, I spent a beautiful day here in Milton knocking on doors, and I'm going to continue this evening. And we are seeing definitely an uptick in terms of how people are openly telling us that they're going to be supporting us. And those are the kinds of reactions and interactions we're looking for at the door. They're making their minds up. They've seen what's happened in the past week. They're looking at policy, but they're also looking at the maturity and integrity and the honesty of the Prime Minister, the leader of the Liberal Party. And they're coming to their conclusions. Now, we're not discussing the matter at the doors particularly, but you know that they've made their minds up and that they are leaning towards Conservatives.
OK, so let's go across to Gary. Gary, we heard from the Conservatives. They're saying that they are leaning towards the Conservatives. It seems the people are making up their mind. Numbers seem to be slipping there in the last few times where these polls are concerned for the Liberals, Gary.
So, you know, the only poll that really does matter is on October the 21st, and Canadians will have the opportunity to express themselves. I've been door knocking all week, this morning and this afternoon, and we've had tremendous response at the door. I think what's important is that the issues come out. We know that issues such as climate change is front and center in people's mind, and that's what I'm hearing back from my constituents. And
but you know, Gary, you started with saying it is the final polls on 21st, and I agree with you. But the point is, these are also good indicators. And we've seen the kind of difference depending on the controversies that are shaped up, whether it's for the Conservative camp or the Liberal camp. The fact is, these numbers are also indicative of what is the voters' mind, Gary.
We also know that polls are not always accurate, and the only poll that really does matter is the one on October the 21st. I think from what I'm hearing at the doors in Scarborough Rouge Park and from my colleagues in many parts of the GTA, their number one issue is climate change, and followed by cuts to education and healthcare, which are in fact provincial issues, but they're afraid that that could be projected onto the national stage. So I think we have quite a different picture here, and what's important is that we focus on the issues that matter to Canadians on a day-to-day basis, the cost of living, to make sure that seniors are able to retire with dignity. We're able to provide post-secondary education to students who are able to attend post-secondary education if they qualify. So those are the issues that are resonating at the door. Those are the things that are priorities for people in Scarborough
we'll come
Rouge
to
Park.
these issues, Gary, because right now let's just tackle the party numbers. We'll talk about the preferred Prime Minister numbers, and then we'll go into the issues at hand and the controversies as well. So let me quickly bring in Tracey as well on this one. Tracey, we were discussing numbers where parties stand as of now. The good thing is that the gap between the Green and the NDP, for example, for that third spot is widening. It's working in favour of Mr. Jagmeet Singh right now. What do you think of these numbers today?
To be honest, you know, these numbers are just a snapshot, and we all know that. This is the beginning of a campaign that's been very exciting for New Democrats. We've had a wonderful first week. Our leader is showing Canadians who we are and what we stand for, and they're responding in a very positive way. And that's on the issues that we're bringing forward, but also on our ground game. And I'll tell you that New Democrat campaigns work hard. We have an army of people out on the ground, and there is really no poll that can capture a riding to riding perspective on what is happening. We certainly have aggregate polls and different polls that are happening at the national level, but there is no poll but the one on election day that will show how people will vote. And so, to be honest, for me, I don't pay attention to the polls, because when I'm talking to people at their door, they're telling me how deeply disappointed they are in the Liberals, and they're petrified of a Doug Ford kind of federal perspective here in Ontario. So for us, we just keep going on the work that we have on the ground, and that's something that New Democrats are well known for. We run very high resource campaigns in terms of people power, and we're very proud of that.
Okay, all right. We've heard from all three of you. Let's move ahead and talk about the leaders right now, the leaders of the party. We put out the poll again with Nanos, and we asked the question about the preferred prime minister the people think they would like to see in the next election. So let's take a look. Justin Trudeau right now at 31.5%, Andrew Scheer at 29.2%, Jagmeet Singh at 9.7%, almost 10%, Elizabeth May at 8.5%, and the rest, of course, also there on the board. This time, I'll make a start with you, Gary. Gary, last week when I was having this discussion with our panelists, it was interesting to see that the gap between Andrew Scheer and Justin Trudeau was a big 10%. Now that gap has really shrunk. What do you think about that?
Well, what's important is that leadership is about taking responsibility when things arise. And in this case, the Prime Minister has taken ownership and has been remorseful for what's happened. He has basically come out and talked to Canadians. He's been engaging Canadians at a number of different levels, including through the media. He's talked to caucus. And I think from what I'm hearing at the door, people want to move forward. They look at this as an opportunity.
But Gary, if that was the case, if that leadership was really working despite all that has happened in the last few days, we shouldn't have seen that gap really shrinking, but widening. So this is the point, that the leadership is being questioned where people are concerned. I also quickly want to bring in Lisa Raitt on this one. Lisa Raitt, leadership, that's what people are looking for. Andrew Scheer last time was 25%. Today it's at 29.2%, inching towards the 30%. Is it the blackface controversy that is making people change their mind? Or do you really believe what Andrew Scheer is actually saying, what Conservatives are actually projecting as the policies is making them make a difference in terms of who do they prefer as a Prime Minister? Ms. Lisa Raitt.
Thank you. We've set out a lot of policies this week covering from senior citizens to CT and MRIs to universal tax cuts. Those are the things that Canadians want to hear about. But I will pick up on one thing, and you can absolutely see it in the way in which the two other panelists have approached the issue of leadership, and that is our leader is Andrew Scheer. And the Prime Minister, the leader of the Liberal Party, is not running against Doug Ford, nor is he running against Stephen Harper. He's running against Andrew Scheer and this party that has serious policies that are going to help Canadians get ahead and be more affordable life for them. So the more that they talk about and bring up this fear-mongering of what they perceive to be bad situations in other provinces.
But Ms. Raitt, sorry for interrupting you there. Isn't that the exact reason why Mr. Andrew Scheer has not spoken about Doug Ford at all in this campaign? Because it's surprising. He's campaigning all over Ontario, but not even once does he speak of Doug Ford. Isn't that the precise reason? He's keeping away from all that.
Well, I would say that Justin Trudeau was in Nova Scotia, and not once did he mention Stephen McNeil, an incredibly unpopular Nova Scotia premier, Liberal premier right now. The reality is the Liberals really want to run against Doug Ford, but they're not. They're running against Andrew Scheer and a very smart and a very honest and a very capable Ontario team. And we're talking about issues that matter to Ontarians. And the more and more they put out this negative fear-mongering into the Ontario political sphere, I think they're going to get punished for it.
But
just
it's interesting,
like
Ms.
Raitt,
that you speak about the negative fear-mongering. The fact is there has already been so much negativity where this campaign is concerned, be it the videos where Mr. Andrew Scheer and his video from 2005, or of course we've seen the brown-face, black-face photographs and videos. And I want to quickly bring in Tracey on this one. Tracey, do you think that's where it's actually helping the Alternatives? You know, because there has been mudslinging between the Conservatives and the Liberals so much, and that's where people are thinking of an alternative like the NDP, because the gap between the Green and, like I said, the NDP is only widening further.
Well, I think that people are tired of this type of policy. And last night, Jagmeet Singh was in Windsor. We had a huge town hall, and he was asked a question about the controversy this week, and he answered it with policy. He answered it with substance, and he showed true leadership throughout this entire first week of the campaign. He did fantastically in the first debate that Justin Trudeau didn't even show up to. And, you know, to Lisa's point, it's not me that's trying to tie Doug Ford to Andrew Scheer. It's Canadians. And I'm hearing it at the door here in Essex. People are very afraid. We have teachers that are facing strikes here, are potentially going into the fall. That is actual Canadians that are raising that fear. It's not something that we have to connect at all. Quite frankly, it's something that they see as being a way that will negatively impact them. But when I get back to Jagmeet Singh, I want to say that he's had a wonderful start to this campaign. He has shone as a true leader, also on what has happened here with the Prime Minister, but also on the policy that we've rolled out. The policy like Pharmacare and Dentacare and things that are good for people. So people are just getting to know Jagmeet Singh on the national stage, and they're loving what they're seeing from our leaders.
Well, that's the difference. And I want to bring in the other leaders as well on this one. We understand the promises being made are fantastic. They all sound very good, but they also cost a huge amount of money, and that's a big concern. Where is that money really going to come from? So let me just go across to Gary once again. Gary, the point is people also fear that while promises are being made, it will also mean that taxes will rise, because where will you get the budget to fulfill all these promises, Gary?
So on the issue of leadership, coming back to that, if you look at the assault weapon ban that our party has committed to, we have silence from the Conservatives. I mean, that's one of the things that's very important to people in my constituency, people across Canada. We've seen a significant increase in violence with guns and gun-related crimes, and we've seen the Conservative Party literally go behind the lobby and not really protect Canadians. And one of the things that we feel that we need to do, it's a clear distinction in terms of leadership. It's one of those things where from a costing perspective, it doesn't really cost anything other than saving lives. And that's okay. What I believe going forward. Those are the type of policies that we're putting forward to make sure that Canadians are protected, as well as to ensure that families, middle-class families, are able to live and afford things that are very important to them.
Point taken, Gary. I'll quickly go across to Ms. Lisa because we, of course, have little time. So, Ms. Lisa, how would you respond to what is being said?
I would say that I'm not surprised that Gary ducked the question on affordability, because the reality is that with all their promises and the mess that they've left fiscally for us in the last 4 years, they're going to have no alternative but to raise taxes. And that's exactly what Canadians are really concerned about, because they're $200 away a month, 50% of them, $200 away a month from insolvency. Those are the issues people want to talk about. And again, demonizing gun owners by saying that they're a gun lobby, I don't think is very helpful for the debate in this country at all, Gary. It is a serious issue, but we have to look at gangs. And we have to make sure that we're taking care.
Our record speaks for itself. 1.1 million jobs created, 850,000 Canadians lifted out of poverty, including 300,000 children. I think that's the record that we're going into this election with, and that's what we want to build on. We want to reduce poverty. We want to make sure people are able to join the middle class and be able to afford the basic necessities of life.
Okay, last say to Tracey. Tracey, go ahead quickly. 15 seconds, please.
So neither of these candidates answered your question, Gary, because neither of these parties has the courage to go to corporations or the most wealthy in our country and say, we need you to pay a little bit more. 1% of people who make 20 million or have 20 million in wealth going to corporations, ending stock option tax loopholes, ending offshoring of our money. They have no courage to do that, and they will continue down that path. And the Liberals will make a bunch of broken promises that they can't afford to do, and Conservatives will throw out a bunch of tax credits that, quite frankly, we all know results in services being cut. We are the party that is saying it is time to have the courage to tax those who have money in our country, the wealthy, the rich, and the corporations in a fair way. Canadians are being taxed. They can no longer afford anymore. Corporations and those who have money certainly can, and we have the courage to have them do that.
Well, like I started off by saying, it's exactly a month away. There is enough time for Canadians to actually make up their mind. Let's see what the candidates have to put forth. But it's been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Lisa Ray, Tracey Ramsey, and Gary Ananda Sangri for joining us for this conversation on CTV News Channel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Akshay.
Thanks, Akshay.
Thank you.